Very good morning to you. I hope you're well. We've got a brand new guest and a brand new supplier here at Hochanda. It's Helen McCook. Helen joins us in the studio, safely though, at the other end of the studio. I feel, actually we were talking, feel like we should yodel or shout to one another, but we're through the medium of our cameras. But we've got the lovely Helen joining us. We'll have a chat with Helen in a moment's time. But just to let you know, it's all about embroidery. And maybe this is going to be a brand new craft for you. Maybe you've had some time on your hands, which we all have. And you've had that time where you need a little bit of mindfulness. Those moments where you sit down, you still want to craft, but you want to do something that's going to be a little bit mindful for you. We've got some great kits at some wonderful prices on the show, and they're very special kits as well, and we'll talk to Helen about them. But just to let you know, the first kit that we've got on the show is right here, 687002. It's only £19.99. This is your floral swirl beginners embroidery kit, so that's great if this is going to be a brand new craft. You get a booklet with your instructions step by step as well, so it's going to be very, very easy for you to follow, and you get that beautiful design already marked out for you, so then you get your beautiful threads. We've got some lovely colours in here for you to start embroidery, and then you can make and create that design that you can use anywhere. You can put it in a hoop like this if you want to, or you might want to add it to some home decor, but very delicate and very beautiful, and you are going to do this when you get the kit home. But let's have a chat with Helen now. Now, Helen, it's great to have you here, so welcome to Hochanda.
Good to see you too. Thank you very much.
Now, you are an artisan hand embroiderer, which means you're very good with your hands and you're very artistic.
Yes, yeah, I'm really lucky to have this as a job. So, particularly now, because so many people have been saying to me, I've just realised I don't have any hobbies and I really want to learn this. I thought I'd know how to do it and I don't, and so many people have been kind of saying recently, so I knew I was lucky to do it, but now I feel extra lucky to be able to sit at home and be embroidering and making things and really enjoying it.
Well, you're not just at home doing it and for your business. My goodness, you're all over the world teaching, and also you've done a lot of work with museums and galleries, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. So I really enjoy the teaching process, and just the idea of sharing my love of embroidery and the knowledge that I've kind of gained over many years with many generous people teaching me as well. So I just kind of love that heritage setting, and it really ties into the kind of embroidery that I do, that I love to do. So it's all got that hook that it hangs on that's really kind of historic based, so really kind of rich in tradition. So I really love to share that with people. So
now I'm sure people at home can hear that you're from the Midlands, from Lichfield, but you're working with the Scottish museums, and also working with the Royal School of Needlework as well. So can you tell me about your connection with Scotland, because I find that fascinating.
Yes, so my parents are both Scots. My dad was from Inverness, my mum was from Edinburgh, and so we've got family pretty much all over Scotland, and I've just always loved the culture. We've been raised in a Scottish household within Birmingham, so really kind of mixed roots there, and kind of got the best of both worlds really. So I kind of go quite a lot. You know, I'll have, not in the normal circumstances, I'm kind of there at least 1 week a month, quite often more than that, and I kind of bounce around the country, just kind of sharing my love of embroidery and kind of seeing amazing new things that people are making, and admiring old antique pieces that inspire me, and really getting to meet some amazing people. You know, it's such a lovely field because everyone's so pleasant, because it's such a lovely thing to do. And then I actually trained at the Royal School of Needlework, so after my degree I went as an apprentice to the Royal School of Needlework, which is based at Hampton Court Palace.
Wow.
And it was just such an amazing experience. It was 3 years full time. I'm so grateful to them for the teaching that they gave me and the expertise that they facilitated my learning to be able to kind of develop, and so I still work with them all over the world, and I work with them also locally in the rugby branch, for the Royal School Needlework in the Birmingham branch, which is based out of my studio in the Jewellery Quarter, and also in Glasgow I run the Scottish branch. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's you really get to kind of get to the grassroots and kind of really see what people are interested in, how they want to develop, and that's kind of inspired a lot of the teaching and kits that I do. So
I can see how passionate you are, and from one Midlander to another, you really know your stuff.
Thank you.
So it's going to be great to learn some new techniques, and also to take advantage of the great prices that we've got for you on the kits on today's show. So the beginner's kit, I do need to tell you that over 10% of the stock has already gone.
Wow.
I think this is absolutely delightful. Do you know what I like about this? I love the background colour because I like the way it makes the threads really pop out. Such a delicate first embroidery kit for you to get. 687002 is your item number. Now we've got some other kits for you on the show. We've got the Stag and Squirrel. Come and have a look at this. Oh, this is absolutely delightful. Now let me just open this up to show you that design. So you can see you've got the space around the edge, which you could incorporate with some more embroidery if you want to be adventurous to do so. Or you could take out that panel in the middle and maybe put it to various projects, including something like this, which is a beautiful cushion. I think this would be absolutely ideal. Now you'll see here, if I just open this up, you get your needles included. So everything is thought about in here. So you've got your patterned fabric, you've got your needles, and you've also got the fabric, you've got the lovely wool to go there, well, the thread that you can now start to embroider on as well. And if I just lift that out, oh, there you go. You can see what an absolute traditional but marvellous design that is. And have you noticed that tail? You see that? If I just turn that to the side, isn't that lovely? Now that's very tactile and very, very nice. And it's going to look absolutely gorgeous in your homes. £59.99, brand new today. So you get your, is it your skeins or skeins?
Skeins.
Skeins, there you go. You get your skeins and you get everything in the kit. Now, Helen, we've got a beginner's kit. What skill level would you say this one would be for?
Well, I'd say that you'd probably want to be a confident beginner, or somebody who's done a bit of stitching, maybe even a long time ago, but wants to have a refresher or something to move them forward. Everything is shown step by step. You've got order of work, stitch diagrams. It's very clear. It couldn't be more clear if I was sitting in your living room with you, basically. But we've really tried to kind of go all the way through, so it's really kind of concise, crisp descriptions, and everything's got really clear up-close photos as well. But I think it's pretty much, there are a range of stitches. Jacobean's a real kind of range. It's the ultimate stitch sampler with embroidery, so that's, you get a real range of textures and stitches. So yeah, if you feel that you kind of just one of these people who just wants to go for it, this is absolutely the project for you. Or if you've maybe done embroidery a while ago but not in a long time, it's maybe another one that would be a great one to get you back into it.
And we're embroidering with wool, 100% wool.
Yes,
that's different.
Well, it's a lovely type of wool. It's a crewel wool, which is a very traditional type of wool, and it's a 2-ply twisted wool, and it's naturally dyed, and it's British. It's a British product, and as is the linen. The linen's a Scottish fabric, and they're heritage pieces. So the combination of the two, this is why it's perfect for something like a cushion. They just get nicer over time when you've kind of leant on them and leaned on them and kind of rubbed against them a little bit, settle down to the sofa. They're only going to get nicer. They'll just get slightly softer versions of themselves. Over time they won't fade in the sunlight, so they'll it's just a really lovely product.
Perfect.
So.
I thought you, for a moment, you were describing me. Oh, thank you.
Couldn't possibly.
Oh, it's a lovely kit, it really is, and using that wool to give you that lovely effect. And again, you've got your full instructions that it comes with. If you do want to get hold of this, it's available on FlexiBuy, which is great, isn't it? Because it divides the cost over 2 months, 2 payments of £30, or you can pay, if you want to, £59.99 if you wish. But I do need to tell you that nearly 20% of the stock of this kit has gone already. We're having a busy start to the show. Now we've got another kit for you. We do have some demonstrations coming up with Helen, but this is intriguing, isn't it? I mean, this is stunning. Take a look at this. This is your Art Nouveau. And with this, you get some extra elements than your embroidery, so that you can make and create something rather special, as you can see just in here. Now, all your instructions come with this particular kit, because you get your Spriggs silver metal and surface embroidery kits and fabric. And if I just lift this up to show you, you can see here just how beautiful that is. Now, it looks lovely in that hoop, but there's nothing stopping you, of course, from using this to be the front of a cushion, if you want it, or maybe a wall hanging, for example. Nothing's stopping you from doing that, but you've got all the elements you need to build and create this fabulous design that's on here, and that is absolutely stunning. How different is that? It really is. Can you see how it's capturing the light as well? Now, let's just head back to Helen. So I want to ask, would you say that this is for an advanced crafter?
I'd say it needs to be somebody who's pretty confident. So again, all the instructions are step by step, but I think people are quite often put off with metal threads because they think it's for somebody who's really, really fancy, really kind of advanced with their stitching level. The process itself is actually quite straightforward, and once you see the instructions, you'll follow them step by step. You'll think, oh, okay, I understand that, I can do that. And it really is, it's eating the elephants one bite at a time, I always say that. And it's, but I think if you're a very, very fresh beginner at embroidery, this is possibly not the kit for you. But yeah, certainly somebody feeling a bit more confident with their embroidery and wants a bit more of a push. But everything is fully described, and there's full instructions.
Perfect. And it's also available on FlexiBuy as well. Isn't that good? So everything will be sent out to you, but the cost will be divided over 2 months, which is a great way to buy. It's a great way to get into a new craft. 765048 is your item number if you want to go for your Art Nouveau kit. Now, we've also got a stitch guide for you, and you'll notice the name on the front, of course. It is by Helen. So this is your gold work, your essential stitch guides. You can see here, £10.99. And we'll just open this up so you can see your contents. Do you know what I like about this instantly? The fact that you can have this flat, and you can leave it flat due to that spine that's inside, which is very easy then to turn the pages and to leave flat so you can start to read the instructions. You've also got your pictures in there as well, so lots of techniques for you to learn. I'm not going to show you all of it because you've got to buy it so you can see that, otherwise you'll be taking screen grabs. £10.99, 809 459 is your item number if you want to go for that. I think that's a great addition to your baskets. Let's have a look at the website. This is where you can go to see all the other items we've got for you. We have got the quilted bear scissors for you in rose gold and your rainbow embroidery as well. Lots of other items on the show that you can choose from and add to your basket. Have a look at the 5-star reviews as well. If you want to become a Freedom member, you can head to your Freedom membership, 88888, and add that to your basket. And we've also got your 7-day savers available to you. They were launched yesterday. Yeah, today's Monday. How did I know today's Monday? I forget every day. But your 7-day savers are available for you on the website. And that's where you can start to fill in your basket with all your goodies. Right, so as promised, we're heading over to Helen now. Helen's here in the studio with us at Hochanda. We're following all the safety guidelines. We've worked very, very hard so that we can have some of our guests actually come into the building. Right, here she is. Here you are, Helen. Off for your first demo.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome to my embroidery session. So I wanted to do a little bit of range of stitching today. So I thought I'd do how to start the thread. I thought we'd do some French knots because that's the one that's Marmite for everybody. You either love them or hate them. And generally, if you hate them, it's because you're not doing them correctly. So I thought we'd nail that down for you today. Maybe a bit of trellis. I thought since Janice really liked the turkey rug stitch in the tail with the texture, I thought we'd do a little bit of that. So get you a bit of a pile stitch there. So we're going to start with the crewel work, which is the Stag and Squirrel. So I'm using a double thread and I've got a knot in the end because I want to have a bigger knot. So I basically want to have more threads in the needle rather than wrapping round more times, and that's quite often the problem, one of the problems that people have with French knots. So to start the thread, on an area or in a line that you know you're going to cover up, you're going to put your knot on the top I'm going to do 2 tiny stitches on or next to each other, nice and small and tight, so they're easy to conceal. Bring it to the top, and I can snip that knot off now. Making sure that you snip it off close to the fabric, but without actually snipping through your fabric. So all you're going to do is put your needle into your working hand, and then or your dominant hand, and then you're going to wrap around the needle once. Everybody tries to do it round down here, and there's no need. Allow yourself some space, hold it onto the needle, okay, and then just twist, hold the twist down the needle until you're sliding further down. Now most people quite often find that the reason why they don't like French knots is some of them are going to pull straight out. So we're going to go down next to where we came up, but not into the same hole. If you become down to the same hole, it's easy to just pull it through to the back, and that's when they disappear. So next to, but not into the same hole, and then pull the twist to the face of the fabric. Quite often the last thing that people do wrong is they don't do that stage, and they end up with a little bunny ear or a little loop. So I'm just pulling through and then pulling tight, and the only difference between this knot and the next knot would be the tension to which I pull the thread. So if I pull tighter, the knot will be smaller. If I pull less, it will be slightly bigger. So coming up, wrap round, hold it on, down to virtually the same hole, pull the twist to the face of the fabric, and straight down. And you can see those look very similar, and that's the point with French knots. With any embroidery, you should be able to replicate what you're doing again and again, and hopefully be in control of it. So as I say, if you wanted larger knots, you leave them slightly looser, or if you want much bigger knots, you just add more threads into the needle. You can also use multicoloured threads, so you could put, you know, a strand of blue, a strand of green, whatever you wanted, so that you get a marl effect. And you'll see that in effect in the tail in a second. So hopefully that's sufficient for everybody. I'll show you that left-handed as well. It's just the same, but just in case we've got any people out there who are struggling to do them left-handed, pull to a twist to the face of the fabric again and down. Okay, so I'm going to bring that up and just park that thread up out of the way for a second, and I'm going to show you trellis. Now normally we'd use a fingertip to elbow length, which is called an L or an elm, and so what I want to do with this is that's for a few reasons. Basically it's so you don't poke your neighbour in the eye with the needle, you know, we can stay friends with the people we're stitching next to, but we also so that we don't end up with our thread condition being ruined. So if we end up with a thread that's too long, generally it wears as it goes through the fabric a lot of times, and if you're going through, the friction will really create stress. So in this case for trellis, we're going to create long stitches on the front and the back, so we can actually use a much longer thread than normal, double the length, because it basically doesn't have as much friction as some of the other stitches. So basically a fingertip to shoulder length is what we're going to use in this case, and I've started the thread off so you won't get bored. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a diagonal trellis, and it's basically a grid across this central area, and I'm going to start in the middle, and we've come up on one side, gone down on the other, and I'm going to come back to the other side. I'm going to use my needle to help me decide whether that's a nice size, and I think it is, because I'm going to put lazy daisies in there eventually, as you can see on the actual cushion. And then I'm going to use my thread because I want to have these stitches lie parallel. So I'm going to use my thread to help me do that. So I work all the way from the middle to one edge and then back from the middle to the other edge, and that's basically because the middle area tends to be larger, so it's easier to see a bit clearer rather than having a small piddly little area in which you can't really see the angle and the spacing. You've got a bit more space to play with, but also it means that you can actually check. We tend to check at the end of something whether something really looks right. We stand back and look at it and go, oh, that looks entirely wrong, and there's less to unpick if we've done that. So all the way to one edge, and make sure you get the little stitches in as well, because in small areas, if you don't put them in, it will just be a gap and it looks strange. And then you come back up to this edge and go towards the other side. Now I'm going to show you the opposite direction because you can get the gist of how you get this direction in, and then I'm going to come to the middle space and put a 90 degree angle, 90 degree to the stitches we have on the other direction, and then we're going to do the same thing. We want the spaces between the stitches to be even, on this side as well. So we look, again, using the needle as the tool, that's creating a lovely little diamond shape. Because what we don't want to do is to end up with some looking square and some looking rectangular. When we've finished, that's the point at which you know you need to redo it. So, and the good thing is there's plenty of thread in these kits, so that if you feel that you've made a mistake anywhere, or you're not too sure, you're not too happy with the look of it, you can have a little practice to start with, or you can just redo it. You always call it reverse stitching because it sounds a bit kinder than unpicking. So, and you can see, you can just nudge a little bit closer. Oh. That's a little bit too close. That'll be better. Okay. So once you've got your diamond shapes, these need to be held down. Now you can use the same colour or you can use a contrasting colour. So if you want a tiny little pip showing up of another colour, that's fine as well. So I'm just going to bring this up out of the way. I'm just going to show you how to use the skeins. Now the skeins come like this. You look for, there's obviously two ends in the skein. So the one that's on the inside, the inner edge, is the one that you want to pull because that will be the one that pulls nicely. The outer one will be the one that creates a nest. And believe me, we've all been there. You always think you've got the right end and you end up with a nest in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to show you the little holding stitches, because the reason why we need the holding stitches, apart from the fact they're decorative, is that they also hold down those long stitches. The stitches are very long and therefore unstable, so you'll end up with these potentially coming undone. So you can see I'm just starting the thread as before, so the knot and 2 stitches, which is known as the waist knot technique. I can snip that knot off now. I know people at home will probably be sitting there thinking, why is she doing it like this? But it's actually, knots going to do themselves, whereas the stitches are secure, but then they'll become more secure as you stitch over that area later. And then all I'm going to do is each of the crossing points, I'm putting a little holding stitch. And you can see it's a lovely little flash of that contrast that will really kind of bring it a fresh appearance and give the security as well. So we can decorate that later on. Now the last thing I want to show you on this particular kit is the turkey rug stitch, which is the squirrel's tail, and it's a really lovely pile stitch. So you can see I've done a little bit of it there, and what we do is I've used 2 colours in my needle, so I've got an orange and a brown, so that I can actually have a little marl texture to the tail. So as I work through, I can change the mixes of colours and the tones, so that I actually end up with a really lovely speckled effect, so it looks a bit hairier and more naturalistic, because hair's never one shade. So what we're going to do is we're going to not start with the waist knot technique this time. We're going to leave a little tuft sticking up, okay, and then what we're going to do is I'm just going to put a little stitch over the top of that to secure it into position, and then I'm going to travel forward, travel back on myself. That creates a little loop because I haven't pulled it all the way through. Now to secure that loop, all I'm going to do is come slightly further forward on myself, travel back, which will be the end of the holding stitch that we did previously, and that holding stitch makes that loop secure. So I'm going to just redo that so you can see it once more. So travel forward and travel slightly back on yourself. That gives you a loop, and then travel forward, travel past that into the end of the previous holding stitch, which holds that secure. Now you do that in rows, so you go backwards and forwards all the way through the tail until the whole thing's packed in and done. If you find once you've done one row that these loops are getting in your way and catching on the row that you're trying to do next, what you can do is just stick them down out of the way with Scotch tape or magic tape. Washi tape will do as well, anything that's low tack, and then you can simply do that for each of the rows and it will get it out of the way so that it's just not bothering you. Once the whole thing's worked, all you do is cut through all your loops, so snip through them, and then you can snip through and sculpt the tail. So basically I'd snip it a little bit at a time, and then you can also angle the scissors. So as I go from one side to the other side of the tail, you can see I'd change the angle at which I'm working with my scissors to trim it, and it gives it a lovely sculpted finish. Now the good thing about that is you normally do your turkey rug stitch last. So if you decided that you'd kind of cut it too short and you didn't like it, just get your tape, get all the fluff off, and then, because it does go everywhere, it's wool at the end of the day, these little fibre lints go everywhere from it. And then you can just simply, if there's a particular section that you've cut too short, you can just snip that out and redo that. Or if it's the whole tail that you feel that you've cut a bit too much, then you just cut the whole tail out and redo it. There's plenty of wool. So it might be worth having a little go on the side or in a spare area, piece of calico or cotton into a frame, just to have a little go with that and to have a practice. But not only doing the stitch, but trimming. That's the thing that people quite often get bothered by. But those are the stitches that I thought I'd do for the crewel work. So I don't know if you want to have another look at the kits with Janice, and then I'll put another hoop into the frame.
Oh, thank you, Helen. Oh my goodness, just watch her all day. It's fabulous, isn't it? Well, this is the cushion in completion that you'll do, including that little fluffy tail. It's lovely, isn't it? When you see the work up close, you really do see that wonderful embroidery and those gorgeous stitching details that you're going to learn. And it's going to be easy for you to do so because included in the kit, you've got the booklet. Now, let me just show you a couple of pages from here that will really show you how easy it is to follow. First of all, look at that. That's your stitching plan. So you can see there, you've got the diagrams, you've got the arrows, you've got all the information you need. So that's your start of your journey. I'm going to pop that down and pick up another one now. And then it's like colour by numbers. So you've got the details in for all your skeins, all the different colours. And if you're thinking, oh, how did I do the fly stitch? How did I do the split stitch? Well, do you know what? Could not be easier. So you've got all of the diagrams to follow. Let me pick another one up as well. And your stitching diagrams are very, very easy to follow. So you'll sit down, you'll learn, and you'll keep going through, and then you'll start to stitch, and then you get this complete, beautiful, beautiful display. I do need to tell you that a quarter of the stock has gone. A quarter of the stock has gone. If you do want to get hold of it, please place it in your basket now and check out. It's always a good idea to check out, and then you know you've got it, and then you know it's yours. You will get the booklet included, so it will take you through step by step, and then you will be able to recreate that gorgeous design. 339104 is available on FlexiBuy as well, 2 payments of £30. Right, let's come back to the beginner kit. This is really, really busy. Over 40% of the stock has gone. Let me show you what you're getting. First of all, you get your feature fabric just here. Let's open this up. Now, if I turn that into the same, there you go. Now, here's your feature fabric. You get your needles included that you can see right there, and the design's already on there for you. The design's already on there for you. Now, let me just fold that back up. Do like the colour. And do you know what makes this so fabulous? Are the colours of the skeins that you're getting, the colours of your threads. Beautiful, bright colours. Now, these, whoops. I've just lost one. We'll get that one later. You will get all 4. But you'll see the colours that are in here really do make that stand out against that background. So, oh my goodness, over half the stock has now gone. Now, this is your beginner's kit, but look at those fantastic stitches that have created those flowers. The booklet will take you through step by step. But you won't stop here, because once you've learned how to put together all of the stitching that's in here, you'll then be able to take that to other designs as well. 687002 is your item number if you want to go for your beginner's kit. Extremely busy for that, 687002. And it's only £19.99. Now, we've got some more items for you on the show. We've got some embroidery hoops. You might want to go for these. These are always handy. You've seen some of the designs that we've got for you on the show. Sorry, I went under the table there, sounded like I went into a tunnel. And they're in hoops, so it's a good idea to get these. £19.99. You've got the 4-inch, the 5-inch and the 6-inch. They come as a set, all three, and they're from the Quilted Bear. We also have some more sizes for you. Now these are larger, so these are your 8-inch, your 10-inch and your 12-inch. And there's a freedom price on there as well, £27.92, and that includes your P&P. So if you want to become a freedom member today, you pop that into your basket and check on out. Now if you do want some scissors, we've got some rose gold scissors for you, savings £7. Oh, they're lovely. Trust me, they're rose gold and they're lovely. £29.97. Right, let's head back to Helen for some more demonstrations. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you. Right, I thought I'd do some stitches on the beginner's kit. Now, actually, trellis and French knots that you've just seen are actually on this kit as well, because those are really kind of lovely stitches that you see quite universally. So I thought I'd put those on. And I thought I'd introduce you to Buttonhole. So we've got Buttonhole. I've set the threads up here so that you don't get bored. And I'm using 2 strands of the stranded. You can use up to the full 6 if you want. And what I've done is you come up in the fabric, you're going to go down on the inner edge, leaving a loop. You can use that to help you guesstimate the distance that you need, and then you come up in that loop and pull to the outer edge, and it creates this lovely ridge. I always think of it like a spine with legs. So if you think of it in that sense, you go down where the foot is and you come up just beneath the spine, okay? And that creates that lovely kind of stepped appearance as you're working through that border shape, okay? So you can see it goes in quite rapidly. I suppose everything's subjective with embroidery, nothing's that speedy, but speedy-ish. And then if you want to finish your thread for any reason, or if you get to the end of the shape, then you need to just go down to secure it. Just go down on the outside of the loop. So if that's the loop, you come down on the outside of it and it holds it into position. And then you'd finish off your thread exactly the same way that you started it. So 2 stitches, nice and small and tight, on or next to each other in that area that you know you're going to cover up. Bring your thread to the top, pull it taut and snip it off. So that is Buttonhole. I thought I'd show you whipped wheels, which is also sometimes known as spider's webs. So you'll see why in a second. I've started one off over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a contrast colour for my spokes. So I've used blue for my spokes, and then I've used yellow over here to do the actual embroidery with the whipping. And these little circles up through here, they're alternate. They're all blue spokes, but they'll have alternate yellow and pink coatings, coverings, weavings with them. And then this one's the one I'm going to demonstrate on, so this circle up here. So, okay, so I've started the thread off. We're going to start by doing a cross. So, St George, St Andrew is the way I think about it. Some people like to think of it as a star. So whichever way helps you to remember. So 2 crosses over each other to create the spokes for this, because we need an even number of spokes. And then so that the weavings aren't rattling around, I'm just going to do a little holding stitch across the top. So I'm coming up between 2 of the spokes on one side and down between 2 of the spokes on the other side. Now that can then be finished off later on, so I've just put a little holding stitch to hold it there, out of the way. Park that thread up, and then what I'm going to do is bring into play my yellow. So this is going to be what I'm going to whip around with. Now if you're left-handed, you'd go anti-clockwise. So you go anti-clockwise. If you're right-handed, you go clockwise. So you'll find yourself kind of using both hands as you go, really. It's one of those things that's a bit interchangeable, but generally it's more comfortable for a left-hander to go anti-clockwise. So what we want to do is we want to go back over one spoke and then forward under 2. So so basically we want to bind one spoke and then travel forward underneath so we can bind the next one. So back over that one and then forward underneath 2. And then back over that one, forward underneath 2. So you can see that it creates this lovely little raised appearance. I always think it looks a bit like an ice gem or a sea anemone rather than a spider's web. I can see that it starts looking like a spider's web, but once you've finished working all the way around, it fills in and creates this lovely texture that really builds up beautifully. It's so pleasing. You see it builds in quite quickly, and you just keep nudging all of the rows into the centre of the spokes, so to the centre of the wheel, and you just keep going like that until the whole thing is packed in, and you can see you start to build up these little webs, and as the gap between them gets bigger, we actually start to get more definition of those bindings sitting firmer and higher up. If you've got any little gaps in between or anything that you see the paint line, you can always do an extra row on anything, or in the wheels you could actually pop a little row of French knots in the matching colour or the contrast around the outside. It's really pretty, it looks like a little rose, so that's a really nice way of treating that. So you just keep going exactly the same, so back over one, forward under two, all the way around until you've run out of space, and then you can finish that thread off. And then I thought I'd also show you stem stitch. So stem stitch is a really versatile stitch, and one that's used for edging, so you can use it on the little stems here, or you can use it in rows, so you can do them butted against each other to fill an area. So what we're going to do is we're going to travel forward a short distance. I'm pulling my loop to the outer edge of the curve and coming up at the halfway point, and I'm pulling. And by aligning on the same row, so if you're on the same line, it creates a little S-line effect. So it kind of nudges, so it's not quite straight, it gets a lovely little rotational curve. So, and the shorter you get, or the thicker your threads, the more kind of curvaceous that appears. And you can see I'm pulling the extra to the back, pulling the extra to the front, rather than just pulling in a oneer. Just, it makes it slightly kinder on the condition of your thread. Always look at the condition of your thread when you're working, because if it starts to look tired, then you just finish that thread. You've got plenty of thread in your pack to keep going, start a new thread. It's just the case of, I know some people don't enjoy threading the needles, but it's really good to kind of try and get through that and look at the condition of what you get overall, because as we stitch, as we handle the thread, as it gets stress going through the fabric, it dulls, it gets slightly hairier. As we're working, we also sometimes handle the thread with the fingers, and the oils off the fingers also dull, takes the sheen off the thread. So what we really want to do is to get that really lovely shiny finish by the time we've finished stitching. So the less we can handle it, the less it's kind of stressed by going through the fabric, the better. So fingertip to elbow length is generally the shortest thread amount that we'd go to, unless something's looking very stressed indeed, in which case just keep observing. So I thought those would be the ones that I'd demonstrate on this, and then I thought if we change frame once more, then we can start to demonstrate the metal thread work.
Perfect, thanks Helen. I told you she was good. Well, teachers all over the world, absolutely fantastic. Very easy to follow in the instructions as well. Again, you get your pattern, you get the information, you get all of the details, and then the stitching themselves. I mean, look at that, a whipped wheel. I thought that was chocolate. But this is great, isn't it, to learn new stitches, because it's not just for this design that you'll be doing them. Once you know the stitch, you can add it to your own designs. Once you have the templates right here, you can follow these stitches and perhaps put them into other designs, because you'll have the confidence to do those special stitches now and add them. So it's absolutely incredible. So that all goes with that beginner's kit, your floral swirl, and again, very easy to follow. Nearly 3/4 of the stock has gone. I do like this. I love the threads that have been used. They're so bright, aren't they, against that background. Absolutely gorgeous. And that will look great in a hoop. We've got those on the show if you want to go for one. Or you might want to use this maybe on something else in your home, some home decor or something like that. You get everything you need in the kit, including your needles as well. So when you receive this at home, then you can open it up and you can start to embroider. 687002 is your item number. Just £19.99, proving to be very, very popular. So what a great introduction into embroidery for you. Now, something for the more advanced embroiderers amongst you. This is absolutely gorgeous. If you can come in close and see the details on that. You've got your Jacobean crewel work kit, the instructions, you get the skeins and the needles and your fabric to boot. Now look at the detail on that. The design is printed on the fabric, but after you've stitched onto it, you cannot see that design behind there. So yes, you can show this to your friends and family when we're allowed to see them again, or you could take a picture and send it to your friends and family, and you won't see that you've actually stitched over that design. So you could say you've done it all by yourself. Love the stitching in this, love the detail as well, and we're loving the little squirrel's tail as well, just something a little different. There he is, look, or there she is. And it's a red squirrel as well, I like that, nice traditional red squirrel. Now over a third of the stock has gone, you're taking advantage of Flexi Buy. It's available on 2 payments of £30. That's £30 today, everything will get sent out to you, and then we'll take another payment in a month's time. And then by that time you would have put together this beautiful design. Make a cushion from it if you want to. You can do anything you like once you've placed your stitches on. 339104. We do have another demonstration coming up. It's going to be on our final kit just here. This is your Art Nouveau, something a little bit extra special. And this again for your more advanced embroiders. You get your instructions, the full complete kit, including your needles, your skein in there as well, your skeins with the different colours, and your silver thread work as well. It's beautiful once this has been created. You can see there the way that that silver work on there gets the light reflecting. How incredible is that? The only question is, what are you going to do with it when you get it home? Put it in a hoop like this, place it on a wall? Do you know, that would look absolutely beautiful on a jacket, on a nice jacket, maybe on the back, maybe on the front, or a bag, on a very special bag. That would look incredible, would it not? And knowing that you've made that yourself with that silk background. 765048, your item number, £59.99, also available on FlexiBuy as well. So it means you can divide the cost over 2 months, but everything will be sent out to you. We've got a demonstration coming up with this in a moment's time. Let's have a look at the website. You might want to go to the website and get hold of the stitch guide. Yes, the stitch guide for gold work. It's a great book by Helen, and it's great to follow some of the designs in here. The history of metal thread works in there, and that's something that's really nice to learn. You've got your metal threads in there, how to use them, preparing the ring frame. It's a great book to get hold of. It's a great price as well. Right, as promised, we've got another demonstration coming up for you right now here with Helen.
Thank you. Right, so I always think as well that design might look quite nice in a box top, you know, lovely, you know, those boxes that you can get where you've got the space in the top to put your embroidery. I always think that would make a really lovely present or thing about your home. So, but yeah, very tempting to put it on garments as well. So what I thought I'd demonstrate now is a couple of techniques that you'll see on this piece. So I'm just tilting it up slightly. So one of the things that I've done is I've applied some of the felt padding here. So I've put little holding stitches all the way around the edge, just coming up in the fabric and going down into the felt. And then I'm going to apply some spangles down the centre. Now I'm going to do that with a coloured thread, so it's a single strand of the green. And a spangle is metal sequin, essentially. So traditionally they were made with a chain link that was hammered flat, so they tend to have a little line down the centre. So I've got 2 different scales here, so what I'm going to do is just pop one onto the needle. You've got the needles that you need are in this kit as well. And then all you're going to do is to hold that firm and then stitch to one side and then the other side. So we're going to put 2 stitches on each spangle. And that's basically because we also want to create a little vein line down the centre of the leaf. and that will help us do so. So it will hold the spangle nice and secure and flat, so it bounces the light back like a little mirror. But also, as I say, we're going to create that lovely vein line down the centre. So all I'm doing is picking up another spangle, popping that onto the needle, and then stitching flat. And I'm just going to make sure that my stitches align down the centre, and by using the green thread it just creates that contrast. Makes it lovely and secure and flat. Now as I'm getting into the wider section of the leaf, I'm going to use one of the larger spangles. Just holding that in place. So you'll put larger ones in the wider part, and then as you go down to the smaller section, as the shape tapers, you'll go back into the smaller size spangles. So you can see you can create that lovely little central line. I think it's such an attractive finish. And as I say, it bounces the light back. So one of the lovely things about metal thread work is the way that light plays with the metal. So you can really control the way that the light bounces off each piece of metal. So by having these flat, they act like mirrors, so it makes it really sparkly. So if you put it on your wall in your house, for example, or if you put it onto a garment and then move about, you'd find that it really kind of glitters as you move around the space. So I think it's a really lovely finish. So you can see I've just created that lovely line with the spangles there. We're then going to put chips, so I'm just going to bring this needle up out of the way, park it up, and I'm going to use a double thread for the bit that I'm going to put around here. So I'm going to use a type of metal called bright check. So I've got a small section of it in my hand here, can you see? It's really sparkly, twinkly looking thread, really catches the light, and basically it's made like a coil. But instead of having a circular finish to it, it's like a spiral. It actually has tiny little facets that go round. So as you cut this into small pieces, it has a hole that you can stitch through it like a bead. And what we're going to do is chips are tiny little bits of this. So you look at the width of the metal and you want to cut it so that it's square or very slightly rectangular. So basically, as you can see, it kind of really twinkles and catches the light. If you then stitch those little chips down at random angles, it means that that twinkle is kind of multiplied. It's like the twinkle factor times 10. So because by stitching them down flat at random angles, those little facets really make the light kind of bounce across the whole piece. So what we do is we wax this thread. So I've waxed this thread first. There is beeswax in your kit as well. Everything is in your kit that you need. And then what we're going to do, as I say, we're going to cut this into small little pieces. So I'm just going to put my scissors into position. I'm going to put my finger over. I'm not actually pressing down, I'm just stopping it bouncing off, because these little bits of metal are really easy to lose. So you just want to just kind of minimise the amount that you lose. There is plenty in the pack, but just be cautious. And then, as I say, I've gone through that like a bead. And then I'm taking it down to the bottom, nudging it so that it's against the end of the thread and stitching it so it's flat. And we're going to cover in the rest of that felt with tiny little bits of chips, as I say, all these tiny little bits of metal in random directions so that it really twinkles when it's finished. So if I snip through, a couple of pieces of this, so that you can see what I mean. You don't want them to overlap and you don't want them to have gaps. So if you fill in, and then any little gaps that you see at the end, you'll fill in maybe with smaller pieces. So this is one of those things that it's really, you kind of just get immersed into it. You kind of, as I say, you get sucked into embroidery generally, but you just completely become immersed in the technique. and then you'll end up with this beautifully twinkly shape that really catches the light and sparkles and glints with the combination of the spangles and then the chips, the bright check chips. I'm just chasing this bit around the embroidery frame, so sometimes they like to run away from you. If there are any little legs hanging off the end, so if you've cut it and it's just pulled slightly when you've stitched it, cut that little bit spare metal off, just because those will catch on things and you don't want it to catch, so you want it to be nice and secure. So just cut any extra bits off. If you see bits hanging off, just snip them off. But you can see that's just a small area, but you can see it's really beautifully covered in and really catches the light. So you can see that kind of really glints and twinkles. I hope you can see that. So, and I'm sure that Janice can show you on the actual sample as well. Another technique I thought I'd show you was how to attach diamantes. So diamantes are so beautiful. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a sparkle queen. Anything glinty, sparkly, shiny, I'm there. So on the actual piece, you'd normally do all your surface stitching first, and then we'd attach the diamante and the metal afterwards. So the diamante is really sparkly, it's got a metal mount and it has holes through it, so north, south and east, west. So all you need to do is put a stitch from one side to the other and hold it down, making sure that the stitch is nice and secure. So that's the one direction done with a double thread, and the next direction also has to be stitched. And that will mean that once you've worked it, it will be lovely and secure, and it will just add that extra sparkle to the top. Now you can see that's not going anywhere. So hopefully that'll give you a few instructions on where to start with your pieces, but the actual booklets have everything in it.
Perfect, thank you, Helen. We've had lots of emails in, Helen, welcoming you to Hochanda.
Oh, thank you.
And saying what a fantastic teacher you are.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you. And this is what you can create. It really is absolutely magnificent. When you see it up close, like I'm doing right now, I'm sure that when you've stitched it all together, you're going to look back at this and go, oh my goodness, I did that. It's absolutely beautiful and something new for you to learn, of course. Your details are on the screen at the moment, and it is available on FlexiBuy if you want to go for that option, which means we'll divide the cost over 2 months. It really is a great way to buy. So if you did want to get hold of this and anything else, of course, you can spread the cost of that over 2 payments as well. Now, we've got an update on the floral swirl. It technically sold out, which means it's in everyone's basket. You do need to check out. So, unfortunately, we have to bring you that news right now. I didn't want to interrupt Helen as she was talking you through the previous demonstration, but that is a technical sellout on your swirls. So if you did have that in your basket, it's always good to check on out. Right. Oh, Helen, we've got about a minute left on the show. I can see you've got some other samples to your right-hand side. Do you want to talk us through some of those just in the last minute of the show?
I brought a range of different samples today just so that you could see other things in similar techniques to the ones that we've got on the kit, so you can see where you can go with them. So this particular figure is from the Book of Kells, inspired by the Book of Kells. So you're using a plique, you're using the spangles that you see there, so you can see what mirror-like shine with the beads. And the same kind of threads that you've got in the beginner's kit and in the surface stitching on Nouveau kit. So the strandeds used very colourfully to work through here. I've got a kit that's actually Jacobean in style, but is in silk, so you can see that in the latter period for Jacobean they were worked in silk as well, so they translate through to fashion very well. So I brought a slightly more delicate version just in case people have a preference for the shinier sparkly threads. But yeah, just a range really.
Wow, they look amazing, Helen. They really do, and that icon, oh my goodness. But these are the things that are achievable even if you start with the swirl kit that we've now unfortunately sold out, but this is something that then starts to become more and more achievable as you go through it.
100%, you build your skills.
You certainly do. Helen, what an amazing first show for you here at Hochanda. Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure.
And we are following all the safety guidelines here at Hochanda, so thank you for accommodating that as well.
Thank you. It's been good seeing you from a distance.
Yes. One day we'll see each other close up. Probably won't be a good thing when you see me close up. So I might want to keep it at a distance. But thank you, Helen. Are you on later on today?
No.
No, just the one show today. So that means you need to check out your baskets and get what you need. But do make sure you check out. Thank you to Helen.
Thank you.
You can watch the show again. It will be available on Rewind for you. But we've got more coming up, so stay exactly.